So I was talking to this younger guy, and we were talking about our passions, right? So I was talking about, say, engineering and cooking and this stupid video game I was really passionate about at the time, right? And then I turned to him and I asked, well, look, man, what are you interested in? And when I tell you, this guy gave me the blankest expression I have ever seen. And after like the longest 2 or 3 seconds of my life, just kind of looks at me and goes, I don't know, nothing really. And it's 4 words, right? It was a really short response, but something about that stuck with me. It stuck with me for years, because as a kid, I would have killed for someone to ask me that. There was just so much to say, right? I don't know. So just something about seeing all of these youth, because it's not just that kid. It's not just that kid. It takes one look around to maybe looking at your local school or something like that, that a lot of kids just don't seem to have the same drive to learn or to explore. And that really scared me. I was terrified. I mean, I'd hope a lot of people in here would be terrified too. So I decided to try and take action on that. I met up with some good friends of mine. Shout out to these guys. They're awesome. A couple of them are in the audience right now. And we met up after school, okay? We talked a little bit about this because they had noticed that problem too. And what we came to decide was that we needed to create a space for kids to, tinker around with things, to explore, to try and create new things, right? Because we wanted to try and maybe reignite some of that curiosity, some of that passion. And in that time talking, I think I came to a sort of like extreme conclusion. I thought, maybe from a little too much doom scrolling, a little too much time on the internet, kids these days, they must be getting dumber. They must be losing curiosity, losing passion. That's what really terrified me. And that was what motivated me to start something called STEMroots. It was a nonprofit organization, still is. And what we do is we go from school to school and we'll run hands-on STEM lessons, right? So we'll do elephant toothpaste, or we'll make a circuit, make an LED light up, or do, say, a homemade lava lamp, right? And we'd go from school to school, do these lessons for free, just in attempt of building like an environment for these kids to learn, for these kids to explore, right? And it was a great idea, but execution is sometimes a little harder than the idea, right? Because to start off, I had low expectations, right? I thought that running this thing, we would be met with, blank faces, maybe not a lot of answers to our questions. I thought that going up there, it would be hard to get kids invested into the boring subjects, right? Stuff like, say, math, science. And I can say, I'm going to go up here and say this right now. STEMroots has been the most humbling experience I have ever had in my life. Because my time at STEMroots has taught me one thing, and again, ask my family, one thing that I don't admit to often. I was wrong. So, hey. So we went up there, right? And we went up for our first lesson, and that's up there. That's us up there talking. We go up, and we were met immediately with kids being excited to learn. They were running up to us trying to tinker, experiment, build new things. This one kid, this is a true story. He comes up to me while we're talking about forces, and he goes, Graylon, I get that forces move things, and it's the energy from the forces that moves things, but why does that energy actually make things move? How does that work? We're doing an egg drop. If you've ever had to say, I don't know, to a kid you're teaching half your age, you'll know that that's a very humbling experience, all right? And what I'm getting at here is that we could take a look into these kids, and we could see that same spark that we had. We saw a desire to create, a desire to build, a desire to learn. And that was amazing to see. But one thing really stuck with me with that. What was it about these kids we were teaching, who were asking so many great questions, who were so invested to learn, so excited? What about that was different from, say, that kid I was talking to who just said, I don't know, nothing really? And the answer is environment, right? These kids here, they were being pushed outside of their comfort zone. What they were trying to do is solve problems. They were trying to create new things. And you could see right away how, being presented with a need to protect an egg or build a boat that floats immediately got these guys super excited. They wanted to challenge themselves, build new things. And that's, I guess, where that, I don't know, nothing really comes in. Because I feel like a lot of kids these days aren't presented with a lot of opportunities to do that, right? Especially in today's world. A lot of kids these days, they're surrounded by, short-term dopamine. They've got screens, they've got, easy answers to their questions through, say, AI, ChatGPT, through Google, right? It's a lot harder for these kids to get, there isn't as much room for them to challenge new things, to try and explore, to try and grow, right? And in the end, I really do think that we are trying to solve the wrong problems. Because a lot of the time, when we go up there and we want a youth to be more invested, we want a youth, like a member of our youth, to try and explore more, discover new things, we try and fix them. We go up to them and we tell them they need to do more. They need to learn more, put themselves out there more. But the problem isn't with them. I've seen firsthand that these kids, they have the ability to be curious, to be engaged, like right off the bat, because it wasn't our 10th STEM Roots lesson that got them excited. It was the first, right? I would love to be up here playing the hero of the story, talking about how STEM Roots was this amazing organization that, reignited this curiosity, but that would be a lie. Because right off the bat, they were super excited. So in the end, the only thing that changed was the environment. When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. So if we want to raise a generation of kids who aren't afraid to challenge the systems in place, who aren't afraid to try and create new things, which, looking at the world today, it seems pretty important that we do. What we need to do is we need to evolve backwards. We need to maybe let them solve their own problems. We need to, instead of giving them easy short-term dopamine stuff to do, let them be bored. Because sometimes it's okay to be bored. Sometimes it's okay to let them create their own entertainment. We need to give the kids the environment they need to grow. Because I will tell you this right now. Somewhere out there is a kid looking at a cardboard box. And I will tell you that it is up to us, not to them, but up to us to make sure that kid sees a spaceship. Thank you for your time.